Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me for a 60-minute gentle yoga class. We will be focusing today on strengthening through the shoulders, but also releasing, getting into the spine, also the hips, do some strengthening for the outer lines of the legs, and release through the inner and outer lines of the legs as well. We're going to start off in a comfortable seated position. So just take a moment to find that seat for yourself, whether the legs are crossed or extended out in front of you. Begin to explore finding a taller spine. So you'll begin to engage into the core lightly so that you feel this corset action from the front and the sides and the back. So in our practice, as we begin to explore sensation within the body, we'll also add in this layer of mindfulness and how we can utilize that practice to find our calm and peaceful center. As you relax through the jaw, begin to either close the eyes or just soften them lightly down in front of you. Bring some focus to the breath, slowly developing a deeper, longer, and wider inhale, and a longer, slower, gradual exhale. And for a few moments, just pay attention to this breath moving through the body. Observing where you feel the breath most prominently. And perhaps it's the flow of the breath past the upper lip, the upper chest, or the belly. You might notice a texture or a temperature to the breath. And you will find that as we move through our practice, that the mind will naturally drift off in thoughts. Don't think of them as an enemy and that you need to clear the mind of the thoughts, but just develop the capacity of recognizing when those thoughts come in. And then gently return to that practice of breath, this home base, a place full of presence. And then from that space, allow for other experiences to start to enter the space of awareness. It could be the sound of cars past your house, noises within your practice space, sensations of being warm or cool. And as we move through our practice, if any sensations become strong or call your attention, allow those sensations. Let them become a primary subject of that mindfulness. And just with a soft, open awareness, feel the sensations as they are. Are they pleasant? Are they unpleasant? And notice how they change. Even as we sit here, perhaps noticing if you feel any achiness within hips or shoulders. Does it require just a shift or a change back to that focus of breath? We might even notice as we move through our practice, emotions starting to arise. And we can see that they change too, much like our practice will. Feelings of intensity to ease, maybe even stronger emotions of anger to grief, or happiness to peace. And so as you acknowledge the ever-presence of change, how it shifts through our practice day to day, if it ever feels overwhelming or even confusing, place your attention, relax, and come home to the breath. From here, slowly start to flutter the eyes open. As you inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. Interlace your palms and begin to flip your palms up towards the sky. See if you can feel a little more length from the sitting bones out through the heel of the hand. Notice the lift of the shoulder blades, perhaps sensation through the side waist. And then moving slowly with the breath, as you exhale next, begin to reach those flipped palms out in front of the chest. Slowly start to round through the spine. As you inhale, sit tall. Reach those flipped palms back up towards the sky. And then again, exhale, slowly round this seated cat-cow motion. Continue like this for a few more breaths at your own pace. This time, as you inhale to lift, release the hands, reach them up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, sweep the hands to the low back. Interlace the fingers if that feels accessible, or just tent them towards the floor behind you. Start to lift the chest up and forward, and slightly tilt the head back if that feels okay for the neck. As you inhale next, sweep your arms up towards the ceiling again. Bend into the elbows, clasping opposite wrist, forearms, or elbows in space. Still feeling the same action of the shoulder blades moving up in space, but a slight widening as well. Imagine that you could create a strengthening of holding on to the arms, but also a pulling away action as well. Getting a bit more into the upper spine. As you exhale next, just lean slightly to the right, only so much so that you can feel this within the rib cage itself. And then begin to sweep the forearms forward, just a slight rounding and a spreading of the shoulder blades. And then complete this circle, leaning a bit over towards the left and coming back up through center. So just one more time like that. And then as you reach the top, extend the arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, forward fold here. Perhaps some sways from side to side to release where you feel any built up tension here. And then as you inhale next, start to rise back up. making your way to a tabletop position as you exhale. Placing the hands underneath the shoulders or slightly forward depending on how the wrists feel, knees at hip width distance. Start to move through some cat-cows, inhaling, arching the belly towards the floor, lifting the head and the tail. And as you exhale, round through the spine. And taking 3 more cycles at the pace of your breath. And start to observe where you feel this presence and awareness. Pockets of tension, perhaps in the shoulders and the hips. Just being gentle with those spaces that feel tense. Inhaling out to your tabletop position. And as you exhale, just step your knees slightly back one at a time so that you're creating a diagonal line from knee to hip in this knee down plank. Root the palms down, spread them away from one another actively so that you brace into the shoulders. Take a full deep inhale here, and then as you exhale, slowly lower down to the floor. Press the tops of the feet, the pelvis into the mat, and as you inhale, lift the head and the chest slightly and see if you can hover the hands up and back behind you. You'll start to feel some activation through those triceps and the backs of the shoulders. And then begin to make fists with the hands and see if you can lift those elbows up even higher back behind you. Nice, setting up for a wide-armed cobra. Tent the fingertips off of the mat. Spin the elbow points up towards the ceiling. As you inhale next, start to lift the head and the chest. There might still be a really deep bend into the elbows here. And then as you exhale, slowly bow back towards the floor. Moving with the breath, inhale, lift, feel that anchor of breath and the pelvis. Exhale, slowly bow. Adding shoulder dips this time. Inhale to lift through center. And then as you exhale, dip your right shoulder towards the midline and gaze to the left. Inhale, lifts you through center. Exhale, dip left shoulder, gaze to the right. One more time on each side, lifting through center on the in-breath, dipping on the out-breath. Feeling that stretch across the front of the shoulder. A release of the neck as it gazes away from that dipping shoulder. Inhaling through center. Exhale, release to the floor. Slide the right arm out away from you, palm face down to start. Turn the gaze to the left and begin to roll onto the right side of the body. Either stacking legs straight or bending the knees, sending them out in front of the hips. You might even start to spin the left knee up towards the ceiling and just continue to let the weight of the body tip back as you stretch across the front of the shoulder. You might even need a prop for the head here if there's any discomfort in the neck. Take 5 more deep breaths here, feeling the stretch across the bicep, perhaps into the elbow and down the length of the arm, and see how sensation changes with the awareness of breath. With your presence of inviting this shift of calm and clarity, open to the ever-present change of these sensations and emotions, letting them be as is. As you exhale next, slowly lower back towards the belly, outstretch the left hand, slide the right hand underneath the shoulder, and slowly start to roll onto the left side of the body. Just honoring any differences that you feel from side to side and taking the same or different variation based on what you're experiencing. We're still slowly warming up into the body, so take your time to get there. No need to force it. A few more deep breaths here. And then as you exhale next, roll back towards the belly. Slide the palms beside the hips, palms face down, anchor again into the pelvis. And then as you inhale, locust pose, head and chest lift forward and up in space. Press the palms into the floor. Keep reaching back through the toes and perhaps start to hover them up off of the mat. You might even choose to lift the arms as well. As you exhale next, release to the floor, slide the palms under the shoulders, and inhale to press up to your tabletop position. Finding your alignment here as you exhale. On your inhale, step your right foot to the back of the mat, stay on the ball of the foot, press back through the heel. It might feel nice to even distribute some more weight by pressing the hands into the earth and then sinking back a bit, stretching into the calf. On your next inhale, begin to float the right leg up and back behind you. Trying not to lift it up too high because that will start to arch the belly towards the floor. Keeping this long neutral spine, engage into the core, keep reaching up through the heel. As you inhale next, swing that right leg over towards the left. Release to the ball of the foot. Gaze off left shoulder if that feels okay for the neck, and start to push the right ribs out away from you. As you inhale next, start to sweep the right leg back behind you, hovering it off of the floor. And then as you exhale, swing the right leg over towards the right and pause here, keeping the foot elevated. You might even pulse through that leg a few times. Begin to feel that activation through the outer hip into the glute. Nice, and then as you exhale, release to the inner arch of the foot. Root through the left palm. As you inhale, sweep the right arm up towards the sky. And then as you exhale, begin to reach the right arm underneath the body to the left. Feeling just a twisting action here. Inhale to unwind, reach that right arm high towards the sky. And we'll flow with the breath 2 more times. Inhale to open, pause, circle through the wrist a few times, maybe even drawing some big circles in the air with that right arm. And next time you exhale, release the right hand down towards the floor. And then we'll start to stretch into the inner line of that right leg. You might be feeling enough here with the hands underneath the shoulders. You could even explore dialing those right toes up towards the sky, or even starting to sink your hips back towards that left heel. You could also experiment with widening that left knee away from the body. Coming into a variation of child's pose. In yin yoga, this is called outrigger. And can you keep actively reaching that right heel away from you? If you're sunk back towards that left heel as you inhale next, rise back up. And as you exhale, return to your tabletop position, curl the toes under, lift your hips up and back to your downward facing dog. Take a moment to pedal through the feet a few times, walking your downward facing dog, just noticing those differences that you feel from side to side. As you inhale next, lift your right leg up and back behind you. And as you exhale, step the right foot through to your runner's lunge. Once you get the whole sole of the right foot onto the floor, slowly start to release the left knee down towards the earth. Continuing to get into the back of this leg. As you exhale, begin to shift your hips back. For some, it might feel best to press the sole of the foot into the floor or to dial those toes up towards the sky. And either holding here, flowing with the breath. As you inhale next, re-bend into the right knee. Lift through the chest a little bit. And then as you exhale, sink those hips back, half splits. Inhale, return back out to that bent knee. And exhale, shift the hips back. One more time, either in movement or stillness. Inhale to re-bend into the right knee. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And can you begin to shift back slightly so that you can draw the tail down slightly, engage through the core, so it might feel like the low ribs are coming towards the hip points. And feeling the stretch across that front left hip. Nice. As you exhale, release the left hand to the floor. Right hand comes to the right leg. Inhale for length through the spine. And as you exhale, twist to the right. Option to keep that back knee down, or you might start to tuck those left toes and lift the back knee. Others might even choose to reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. So just feeling the left waist start to move towards the right leg. Keep reaching actively through that right shoulder up and back behind you. On your next exhale, unwind. If your back knee is down as you inhale, tuck those left toes, lift the back knee, gaze forward. And from here, as you exhale, we're going to step the left foot behind the right, crossing at shins or the thighs, and just folding as much as feels comfortable here. There might be a bend into the knees. Just feeling the stretch now through that outer right hip. Nice. As you inhale next, find a halfway lift. Exhale to slowly refold. Squeeze those thighs towards one another. Inhale to stand, reaching arms up and overhead. And as you exhale, mountain pose, just stepping the left foot beside the right. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. As you exhale, slowly forward fold. Halfway lift as you inhale. And as you exhale, plant the palms, step back to your plank position. Knees can be up or down here. On your exhale, slowly lower all the way to the belly. Bring the hands to the low back, anchor the pelvis to the floor. On your next inhale, start to lift again into that locust pose. Feel the shoulder blades draw down and towards one another. An active squeeze ridges of the glutes to help extend through the front of the pelvis. As you exhale next, release towards the floor, palms come under the shoulders. Inhale to press up to your tabletop position. Sink hips to heels in your child's pose as you exhale. On your next inhale, float back up to your tabletop position, finding your alignment here. And on your inhale, you'll step that left foot back behind you. Stay on the ball of the foot to start. Hands press down and forward as you keep actively reaching out through the left heel, perhaps even just pulsing forward and back a few times. Staying connected to that deep rhythm of breath, into the sensory awareness and how it might start to reveal sensations and reveal emotions that are trapped within the body. Pausing in stillness, and as you inhale next, hover that left leg up and back behind you. And then as you inhale next, swing that left leg over towards the right, releasing onto the ball of that foot. And can you start to explore pushing those left ribs away, creating this long line from left heel to the left shoulder. And then as you inhale next, float that left leg back behind you and exhale to swing it over towards the left. Keep the foot hovering and the leg is lifted as high as feels comfortable, pulsing through that leg a few times up and down. Nice, and then start to release the sole of that left foot as you exhale, root through the right palm, and inhale to twist to the left, reach that left arm skyward. Exhale, a slight twist as you draw that left arm under the body to the right. Continue for 3 cycles of breath. This time, as you inhale, pause, turn to the left, circle through the left wrist a few times, wiggle through the fingers. You might even draw some bigger circles in the air with that left arm. And then as you exhale next, release the left hand down towards the floor, sinking your hips back in space. If this is too much for the flexion of that right knee or sensation within the inner thigh, then be sure to stay more upright. Perhaps dialing those left toes up towards the ceiling. As you inhale next, lift back up if that right hip was by the right heel. Tabletop as you exhale, and then slowly transition to your down dog. A few breaths here, either in movement or stillness. Left leg lifts as you inhale, stepping it to the top of the mat as you exhale. Releasing the right knee to the earth once the sole of the left foot is on the floor. And sometimes it requires releasing the right knee to pull that left foot forward to get it there. As you exhale next, shift the hips back, coming into your half splits. It might be suitable to bring the hands to blocks here if sensation is too much along the back line of the leg. Explore dialing the toes up and back down. How does that change sensation within the calf, the shin, the hamstring? And you can hold and fold here, flow with the breath. Inhaling to rebend into the left knee, and exhale to shift back towards that half splits. Just using this rhythmic movement to warm up the muscles a bit more. And one more time. And this time as you inhale, rebend into that left knee, reach the arms up and overhead. And just these gradual shifts here to dial in our posture, to really feel the strength of the legs. They're both rooting down and towards one another, kind of this scissoring action. And as the tail draws down, we lift and lengthen, and there might even be a back bend here as well. As you exhale next, release the right hand to the floor, left hand to your left knee. Inhale to lengthen through the spine, and as you exhale, twist to the left. Keeping the back knee down or tucking those right toes, lifting the back knee. Perhaps even reaching the left arm up towards the sky. As you exhale next, slowly unwind. If that right knee is down, inhale to tuck the toes and lift it up in space. This time as you exhale, step the left foot to the outside of step the right foot to the outside of the left foot, crossing at those shins or the thighs. Breaths here. And then as you inhale next, find your halfway lift. Slowly fold as you exhale. Inhale brings you all the way to stand. Reach those arms up and overhead. And then as you exhale, mountain pose, releasing that right foot beside the left. Pause here for a moment. Feel perhaps a vibrational quality through the legs, just this awakening here. And noticing any other sensations that feel prominent within the body, all tethered by this awareness of breath. Greater presence, greater clarity, greater focus. From here, we'll need a block or something that can bring the floor up to you. And we'll have it set on its highest setting. And know that you can also just use a regular old pot from your kitchen too, something that has height and sturdiness. Okay, so we'll set it up out in front of us as if we were coming to a halfway lift, and it would be a place for our hands to begin to root in here. And then again, start to connect to that foundation of the feet, those three corners that we feel, and this lift through the inner arch. And if you think of this shape, it's like a dome, but it's split in half. And from the strength and the stability of the feet, can you feel it travel up through the legs, through the core, through the whole of you? And tap into that presence of breath. palms forward, lifting through the chest. And then as you inhale next, reach the arms up and overhead. Slowly forward fold as you exhale. Halfway lift as you inhale, placing the hands onto the prop that you have out in front of you, ensuring that there's just this long line. Think tabletop spine almost, from the sitting bones out through the crown of the head. Slowly start to root into your left foot. Engage through the muscles of the legs. And then as you inhale next, try hovering the right leg out towards the side, lifting it as high as you can. And then exhale to lower it back down. Again, inhale, lift that leg out to the side. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, lift, hold as you exhale. And then swing that right leg back behind you as you inhale. Pausing here as you exhale, perhaps just hovering the hands up and back behind you or at heart center in this warrior three. Nice, and then as you exhale next, release the hands to the block if they've lifted. Step that right foot out nice and wide, and then sway through the hips a few times. It might feel nice to hang in a ragdoll, or for others it might feel better to lower into a yogi squat. Just releasing through those hips a bit more. Through the effort of the legs. If you're in that squat, as you inhale next, begin to lift the hips back up towards the sky. Hips, feet at about hip width distance, slowly fold as you exhale. Inhale brings you all the way to stand, and exhale, hands come to heart center. Again, inhale to root into that right foot, or the left foot, and then as you exhale, lift onto the heel of the right foot. Pause here as you inhale, and start to spin the right thigh out towards the right side, setting up for your triangle or your tree pose, and just placing the sole of that right foot somewhere along the left leg, whether it's just the ankle, the calf, or placing it up onto the thigh. It has some playfulness here with your tree pose. You might reach your arms up and overhead. You could also clasp them behind the back. Perhaps your tree begins to sway as that right arm releases to the right thigh and that left arm reaches up and overhead. As you inhale next, begin to bring that right knee out in front, and as you exhale, return to your mountain pose. Give the legs a little bit of a shake here. Then again, feel into the foundation of the legs, connecting to the breath. As you inhale next, sweep the arms up and overhead. Slowly fold as you exhale. Halfway lift on your in-breath, setting the hands onto your prop, rooting into the right foot. As you inhale, begin to lift that left leg out to the left side and slowly lower it back down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. One more time, inhale, lift, hold here as you exhale. And then as you inhale, swing that left leg back behind you. Holding on to block or starting to explore a variation of warrior three, perhaps airplaning the arms back behind you or bringing them to heart center. If the hands are lifted, release them back towards the block. Exhale, release that left leg, sway it out. If you lowered in your yogi squat, Lifting the hips back up towards the sky. Slowly folding as you exhale. Inhale brings you all the way to stand. Reach arms up and overhead. Hands come to heart as you exhale. Rooting into that left foot as you inhale. Start to lift your left knee out in front or stay on the ball of the foot. And then begin to externally rotate through that left leg. Finding your tree pose variation here. Exploring perhaps variations with the arms. As you inhale, drawing that left knee out in front, and exhale into your mountain pose. Inhale, sweeps your arms up and overhead, slowly forward fold as you exhale. Halfway lift on your in-breath. Step back to your plank pose as you exhale. Releasing your knees to the floor and just ensuring that the knees are behind the hips. Root through the palms, pull them away from one another, strengthening and bracing through the shoulders. 3 chaturanga push-ups. As you exhale, lower any amount. And inhale to press back up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. And then exhale, lower all the way to the belly. Hands release down by the hips. Turn the head to one side and take a few deep breaths here. Turning your head to the other side. Continuing to release through the shoulders and the legs, feeling a sense of settling, a heaviness here. Then sliding the palms under the shoulders as you inhale next. Rise up through your tabletop position, and then find your seated position here, bringing the legs out in front. So from here, we'll set up for our deer pose, and we'll start with our right shin out in front, and then just begin to tuck your left foot back behind you. So there's an internal rotation of the left thigh, external of the right. And those left toes might be dialed out in this direction or pointing back behind you. And it's okay if this left hip is lifted in space. So already we're kind of probably starting to side bend over towards this left side. Begin to tent your left fingertips to the floor, hold on to the left shin. And as you inhale next, sweep your right arm up and begin to side bend over to the left. As you inhale next, start to unwind. Plant that right palm down towards the floor. And then as you inhale, begin to reach that left arm back behind you at about shoulder height. And then as you exhale, start to twist, sweeping that left hand to the right, and really let that left hip start to lift in space. Inhale to start to sweep towards this more open twist here. And then exhale to a more closed twist. Taking this a few more times at the pace of your breath. Next time that left hand is reaching over towards the right, just pause here. You might choose to walk those hands further away from you, perhaps even lowering down onto the forearms. As you inhale next, walk the hands back in towards the body. Plant through the right palm. It'll be out beside that right hip or slightly back behind. And then as you inhale, we're going to lift up onto the shins and the knees, pressing the hips forward, lifting your left arm up and back behind you. And then as you exhale next, release the hips towards the floor. Left hand comes back behind you and start to begin to swing the legs out in front of you, soles of the feet on the floor, and just slowly windshield wiper the legs from side to side a few times. Setting up for our deer on the other side. Left shin is out in front of you, and there can be a change in the angle of that left thigh. Begin to tuck the right leg back behind you. Tenting the right fingertips to the floor, holding on to your shin. And as you inhale, lift up through that left arm, side bend over towards the right. As you inhale next, lift back up, plant through the left hand. Pause here as you exhale. And then as you inhale, sweep and reach that right arm back behind you. And then as you exhale, swing that right arm over towards the left, moving into a twist. Unwinding as you inhale, reach those right fingertips behind you, and exhale to move into the twist. So just feeling this sensation system-wide within the body, through hips, the spine, and the shoulders, moving at the pace of your breath, perhaps even slowing it down a bit. Next time you find yourself reaching that right arm to the left, just pause here and start to explore either deepening the twist, walking the hands back behind you, or starting to lower the forearms down to the floor if it feels permissible within the body. As you inhale next, straighten the arms if you're lowered down, keeping that left hand planted to the floor. And pause here as you exhale. As you inhale, lift the hips, rise up onto the shins, reach that right arm up and overhead. Wonderful. As you exhale next, release the hips down towards the earth, sweeping that right hand back behind you. Again, windshield wipering the legs from side to side a few times. From here, we'll make our way onto our backs, setting up for our bridge pose. And we'll take this in different stages to explore how moving the legs away from the body changes the strengthening within the hamstrings. So you root the shoulders into the floor, press the back of the head lightly into the earth. Engage and press those feet into the floor. And then as you inhale, lift the hips, reaching the tailbone in the direction of the knees. Observe that sensation within the backs of the legs. That engagement within the glutes helps this lengthening across the front of the hips. And then as you exhale, slowly lower the hips back towards the ground. And just step the feet forward about an inch. Pause here for a full round of breath. Root into the feet, the shoulders, the head, and then as you inhale, lift the hips. Notice if this feels like a more suitable way to approach your bridge posture. Does it feel like there's more ease across the front line of the body? A greater sense of engagement within the back line of the body? Or does it feel more challenging? Can you sit within the presence of that challenge, finding ease and peace through that tether of the breath? And then as you exhale next, slowly release the hips back towards the ground. Let the knees fall in towards one another. Take a full round of breath here. And then just one more time, step the feet about an inch further away. Those same steps, rooting the shoulders. Press the palms into the floor. As you inhale, lift the hips. Perhaps feeling a different engagement within the glute muscles themselves, the largest muscle within our body, and really so important for helping stability within our walking and our movements. Nice. As you exhale next, release the hips back towards the earth. Step the feet closer in towards the body and a bit wider, and then slowly windshield wiper the knees from side to side a few times. As the knees come through center, when you exhale, hug the right knee into the chest, but hold onto the right thigh instead. Feel a low back press into the floor. And then as you inhale next, send the right heel skyward as you straighten through that right knee. As you exhale next, holding onto thigh, start to curl up and lift the head and the shoulders up off of the mat. And see if you can push your thigh away to help support you in this lift. And then as you exhale and release, lowering the shoulder and the head, can you draw that right leg a little closer in towards the body? Start to explore straightening the left leg away from the body, pressing the heel into the earth, strong through the leg. And then one more time, exhale to curl up through the shoulders, the head. You might even start to reach up for your calf or grab a hold of the right big toe with your right hand. And then as you exhale slowly, just start to release the head and the shoulders. you exhale next, hug the right knee again in towards the chest, rebend into the left knee, take a figure four, so crossing the right ankle over the left thigh. And start to actively use the muscles of the legs to push the knee away from you. And this might be enough sensation for the outer hips, so you're welcome to stay here. You might even start to explore hugging the left knee in towards the chest, interlacing hands around the left thigh. It might even feel nice to sway a little side to side. If you hug the left knee into the chest as you inhale next, release the sole of the foot to the floor. Keep this shape. And then as you exhale, figure four twist, releasing the shape over towards the left. You might hold on to the top of the right foot with the left hand. You might outstretch that right arm and just gaze off the shoulder. And it might even feel nice to take that right hand and just gently press into the thigh. Feel this lengthening from the hip up through the waist. Five more deep breaths here. As you inhale, next, lift this shape through center. And exhale to hug both of the knees into the chest. Swaying from side to side or holding in stillness. It might even feel nice to just draw some circles together or separate with the knees and the legs in space. As you inhale, release the feet to the floor, knees still bent. And as you exhale, hug the left knee into the chest, interlacing the hands around that thigh. And then as you inhale, send the heel skyward. Reach actively out through the heel. And then on your next exhale, start to curl and lift up. Head and shoulders lift. Press the thigh into the hands. And then just resist this press. Keep pulling. As you exhale, release the shoulders, the head, perhaps feeling a little bit more mobility through the back of the leg to pull that leg closer. And then begin to explore straightening the right leg to the floor. Then again, exhale to lift the shoulders, the head, perhaps holding onto the calf or reaching up for the big toe with your left hand. Releasing the shoulders, the head. As you exhale next, hug left knee into the chest. Rebend into the right knee, place the foot on the floor and take your figure four here, crossing the outer edge of the left ankle onto the right thigh, and then actively pushing the knee away from you with the assist of those hip muscles. Staying here if this is enough sensation, or beginning to explore drawing that right thigh in towards the body. If the right foot is lifted, as you inhale next, release it back towards the ground. Figure 4 twist. As you exhale, release this shape to the right. Five more cycles of breath here. As you inhale, lift this shape through center, and exhale to release the left foot to the floor. We'll set up for a supported bridge. If you don't have a prop to elevate the hips, then just let the knees fall towards one another in a constructive rest. Letting the whole weight of the pelvis release to the prop that's beneath you, and a folded blanket or a pillow is suitable as well. Slide the right heel away from the body, straightening through the right leg. Take 5 deep breaths here. Rebend into the right knee, place the foot on the floor, slide the left leg away. 5 deep breaths. Releasing to the front of the hips. Bending into the left knee, foot on the floor. Mindfully lifting the hips, removing the prop out from under the body. Draw the knees in towards the chest. And release, let go into your Shavasana. Let the body take up space. Settle to a natural rhythm of breath. Feeling that weightiness as the skeletal structure releases, the muscles soften. Feeling any residual tension start to dissipate and dissolve into the support of the floor. If you have extra time for your Shavasana, take that extra time. Otherwise, begin to deepen the breath. Let this breath just reawaken the body to shift and awaken that energy of the body. Start to circle through wrists and ankles. Gather the knees into the chest and roll over to one side, and just take a moment to pause there. Reflecting how this practice of mindfulness, being aware of the influx of emotion and sensation in the body and how we respond to it. Moments of pause, reconnecting with our breath can help us and assist in moving forward with our reaction from that place of peace and calm that's within. With eyes closed or a soft gaze, press back up to a seated position, bringing hands to prayer in front of the heart. And bowing chin to chest, acknowledging this presence of peace and calm that lives within. I thank you all so much for your time and your practice. From my heart to yours, namaste. Thanks so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.